All right. Well, who are you? What do you do? Where are you from? Tell me about yourself.
I'm Barb Kirkmeyer. I am a state senator, so
Okay.
I work for the people of the state of Colorado. I am from Colorado. I'm a fourth-generation Coloradoan. I grew up in North Jefferson County on a dairy farm.
Okay. What district do you hail from? Do you represent?
I represent District 23.
23.
Which is the I-25 corridor. I tell everybody it goes from Topgolf on the south to Timnath on the north.
Gotcha. Okay, and how did you get into politics? Did you have a political family, or like what? How did you stumble into that? Is that something that you knew that you wanted to do from a young age?
Nope, I never knew I wanted to do this.
Okay.
So I got into it because I got ticked off.
Okay.
I got ticked off at my county commissioner. Because
How old were you when you got ticked off at your county commissioner?
About 33, 32,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Okay.
Because, I grew up on a dairy farm, and I married a dairy farmer. So we had a dairy farm in the southern part of Weld County, southwest Weld County.
Yeah.
And there were all of these different disposal waste facilities that were trying to come into our kind of corner of the county.
Yeah.
You know, landfills, medical waste, fly ash sites, these types of things. And when I contacted my county commissioner, he kind of brushed me off. And then as I started getting involved in my community and in the activity, and it started with my
What were you
father-in-law.
contacting him for specifically? What were you trying to get accomplished, or what information were you trying to get?
To get information from him about what was the process in the county for these landfills to be permitted.
Okay.
And, what did I need to do, kind of stuff. Because it actually started with my father-in-law. He'd been in the community for a very long time, like a few generations kind of thing. So, a lot of people in the community knew him. I was, busy, we had a dairy farm. I owned a flower shop with my sister in Fort Collins, had a couple of kids.
Yeah.
So I'm a pretty busy person, but he decides to hold this kind of community meeting. And that's where we saw all of the landfills that were being proposed for our neck of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And right across from the section that I live in is the section, it's called the City of North Glen, is their wastewater treatment facility. So they're moving all of their waste out into our neck of the woods from like the Metro Denver area. And so I started getting involved in that. And again, there's a lot of different processes. So we were going to public meetings in North Glen, in Dacono, in Fort Lupton, in Hudson, all around and in the county.
Did you just feel like the landfill areas were getting too close to where you wanted them to be? Were they too close to home?
We were
or
going
what
to
was
be surrounded by them.
Okay.
And it
I
wasn't
gotcha.
waste coming from our area. It's
Yeah.
waste coming from the Denver metro area, right? So
Okay,
we're being
okay.
surrounded by them.
So you
and-
guys were paying the penalty for the
Yeah,
cities.
we're being impacted by, all this stuff. And it's like, look.
This isn't our trash. Come on.
Exactly. And, there's just a lot that kind of goes with it. So I formed with a bunch of my neighbors, started getting involved, formed a neighborhood group, and we called it SWAT.
Okay. What did that
South
stand
Weld
for?
Against Trash.
Southweld.
Yeah.
Against trash.
So
okay.
it's in our
I love
southwest
it.
corner.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, 40% of the trash from the Denver metro area, like Denver, Boulder, Adams County, Jefferson County, Arapahoe County, was going to be coming to Weld County.
Wow.
There's already some major solid waste disposal facilities in the Erie area, which is just about 4 or 5 miles directly west of where I live currently. So we formed our group and we started getting involved and started getting active in our community.
Yeah.
And
This was just as a citizen.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was pretty busy.
Wow. All right. If you have kids, you're busy enough as it is.
Well, and my children were young. They were like,
they couldn't exactly cook for themselves.
No,
yet.
they were, my daughters were like 4 and, 1 kind of time frame through as this is all starting. And maybe, 5 and 2, somewhere in there. But, so I had called my county commissioner to find out what the process was. And he pretty much ignored us. And at one point, so at the dairy farm where I lived on, and at the time, I lived across the road from my in-laws. Right, and we didn't have an extension, or we didn't have a party line. We had an extension, so our phones were on the same line, and we would pick up on the third ring.
Okay.
So when I picked up on the third ring, my mother-in-law had already picked up, and she's talking to the county commissioner in our area. And he was really ticked off, and he was telling my mother-in-law about her daughter-in-law, which was me.
Yeah.
And I'm listening. He doesn't realize I'm on the other end of the phone.
He was upset that you had been
because I'd been contacting him
yeah.
and giving him a hard time. And I mean, I'd been getting articles in the paper. We were doing this whole planning process thing, working with the city of Thornton,
Yeah.
who was helping us out, kind of thing. And so there just was a lot going on. And at one point he told my mother-in-law, he goes, well, your daughter-in-law is just out there chasing windmills. And it ticked me off. And I said, well.
Chasing windmills? What did he mean by that?
Like Don Quixote, just chasing windmills, you know,
Okay.
going after windmills. Like I was just out there doing stuff. And
Yeah.
didn't really know what I was doing, I guess.
Okay.
And it was going to be fruitless what I was
Yeah.
doing. And like I needed to like stop, basically, is what I think he was trying to say.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law.
Well, windmills are stationary, so that guy sounds dumb.
Yeah.
Because chasing a windmill would be pretty easy, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, you know,
Anyway,
you're just out chasing
yeah.
windmills.
I understand the point.
So, anyways, my mother-in-law went to say something. She knew I was on the phone because she heard me pick up.
Yeah.
And I said, just a minute, Bernice. And that was my mother-in-law. And I said, did you hear that? And she goes, yeah. And I said, that's it. I said, you know what, George? Because that was his name. I said, you're going to be damn sorry when I catch one of those windmills.
Uh-oh.
And I said, Bernice, just hang up. And we hung up on him. And after that, he was the county commissioner, and he was up for election.
Yeah.
And a state representative in the area by the name of Bill Jerky suggested that I think about running for office. And
Yeah.
I thought, you know, I'm pretty busy. We have a flower shop. You know, I own a flower shop with my sister. I've got small children, got a dairy farm. It's
Yeah.
like, I've got a lot of things to do here, and I never thought about it.
If you own a business, that alone would take enough of your time. If you just had kids, that alone would take enough
It
of your
does,
time.
but you know what? We had a group. There was about 10 of us, solid. But
Yeah.
we could get 300 to 400 people
Yeah.
to show up at public meetings,
Okay.
right? But there were only about 10 of us, and we would meet
That's pretty
weekly
impressive.
because
Wow.
we're trying to fight landfills now that are
Yeah.
going to be sited in our areas, like all around all of us.
Mm-hmm.
We were like in maybe a 5 square mile area, and, you know, because we're out in the country. And anyways, of our group, one of us became a mayor, became the mayor of Dacono. Another person got on the county planning commission. Another person got on the health commission for the county.
Yeah.
Someone else ran and got on the school board. Somebody else went and got on the Fort Lupton Council. So, because
Wow.
we all decided the only way we were going
That's
to
a powerful group of friends.
Yeah, well, no, you know, you decide the only way you're going to beat this stuff is not only just getting engaged and going to public meetings, but to actually get involved and let them know.
Yeah.
Like we're going to get on all these things. We're going to start working from the inside instead
Yeah.
of being on the outside.
Well, I have to ask, did y'all's effort end up working?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it did.
So you were able to prevent landfills from coming into Weld County from Denver, basically.
And close to us, they did
Yeah.
there was another landfill that the county approved over by Erie where there were already 3 landfills.
Okay. And what was the solution? Surely, I mean, you got to put the trash somewhere. So where did they end up putting it? Do you remember?
Well, so again, there are like 3 or 4, maybe there's not that many there now, but there were like 3 or 4 large solid waste landfills, and they're still present
Okay.
in Erie, in the Erie area. And actually, Erie ended up annexing the landfills at one
Okay.
point because they were in the unincorporated part of the county.
Yeah.
And then there's landfills in the north part of the county. But you know what? They all need to take care of their own trash.
Yeah.
Because, for example, Boulder County, within their land use planning, didn't allow for landfills in
Yeah.
their county.
Yeah.
So they're just like, let's just take all the trash over to Southwest Weld.
Yeah.
You know, because we're so close, like where I live is very close to the I-25 corridor. So quick transportation.
So do we have you and your friends to thank for why Windsor and Loveland don't smell bad?
And we didn't get trashed out. You know, it was.
Greeley smells bad, but that
No,
might be for
Greeley
different.
does not smell
That-
bad.
well,
it just
you know
smells
what?
different. It just
Yeah,
smells
it
different.
smells-
Have you been to Denver?
Yeah, I've been
Okay.
to Denver.
Well, sometimes
It doesn't
Denver
smell
doesn't
great.
smell that
Okay,
great
that's a
either.
good
So
point,
it's
yes.
just kind of what you get used to. I
Bro,
mean, remember,
oh my
I
gosh.
grew up on a dairy farm.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point. Okay,
yeah.
if you're used to the smell of a dairy farm, then anything else doesn't
But
smell.
you know, I was a county commissioner for 20 years.
It doesn't smell so bad,
No.
relatively speaking. But no, I've been to Denver recently, and like really in the last like 5 or 7 years, the amount of tents and homeless
Yes.
encampments, open drug scenes is what they really are, but is insane.
It's
Like,
amazing,
I
yeah.
mean, just normal streets in Denver. You're just like, oh, this used to be like a normal place, and now you have to like step over needles and walk around tents.
Yeah,
And
it's gotten a little bit better in certain areas, but
Okay.
maybe that's
Maybe
just
so.
maybe because around the Capitol they decide to clean it up because
I
that's
don't
where I
know.
work. So,
it is shocking.
but there are
though.
different areas, and I know they've been doing different sweeps and trying to push
Yeah.
people, move people to smaller homes or hotels or whatever. So they've been working on it.
Yeah. Okay, so the landfill issue was what initially got you into
I
politics.
got ticked off of that county commissioner, and I thought, you're right.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to run against that guy. And,
And
my group said, should be you. You're not running for anything. All the rest of us are doing stuff.
Okay, so because of that, did you run for
that's
county
why I ran
commissioner?
for county commissioner.
Really?
Yes.
Is that Weld?
Yeah, Weld County.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I won, barely.
How did you do it?
was
How
like
did you win?
50.7.
You ran against him directly?
Yes.
Was he a Democrat or a Republican?
Yes, he's Democrat. And the numbers were in his favor. And his
Wow.
wife had passed away they'd been in a car accident where he was driving, and she died from it because of internal injuries.
Yeah.
She was very well liked there in the Hudson area. And his last name was Kennedy.
Wow.
So he had like really good name ID.
Was he actually like a Kennedy?
No.
Was he actually Kennedy?
No, but
just happened to have the.
But he has that name, so
Right.
that it's kind of out there. It's good name ID for him. But no, he underestimated. He didn't think he'd lose, and he didn't think he needed to do anything till it was too late.
Yeah. Well, it was too late.
It was
That's
too
what it
late,
sounds
but I
like.
did barely win. But
Do you remember what it came down to? Like, how close was it really?
like 400 or 500 votes.
No way.
Yeah, it was
Oh my
close.
gosh.
I didn't know until like
So to anyone
2
who
in the
says their vote doesn't matter.
your vote matters.
It
You've
absolutely
got to
matters.
vote. Everyone
Yeah.
should vote.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
We've had a county commissioner elected in Weld County by 2 votes.
2?
Yeah. They called him Landslide Kirby.
Oh my
'Cause
gosh.
his
Yeah,
last name is
landslide.
Kirby.
Yeah.
But he won by 2 votes. So your
gosh.
vote matters.
Could
You've
you
got to
imagine?
vote.
Was there there must have been a recount.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But he won.
And it
And that
still
was
came
some
out.
years ago. That
Yeah.
was quite some
Wow.
time ago. But yeah. So it happens. But your vote counts.
So, okay, so that was the issue that kind of got you into it. And then what has kept you there? Why do you continue running for office? And what's like motivating you now at this stage to continue running for office, would you say?
It is, this might sound a little corny to people, but it's the service to
Yeah.
others. It's being able to feel like you can do something for other people.
Okay.
That makes a difference.
Yeah.
Right? We're all supposed to be trying to make a difference in our lives. At least that's what I believe. And so that's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's about, I don't want to say it's about
Are there-
serving people, because a lot of people do that, but it really is just about making a difference and
Yeah.
all the stuff that you can do. I mean, my gosh.
Are there
as a-
particular issues that are at the forefront of your mind? Like, okay, this is something
Yeah.
I really want to work on or maybe even accomplish by the time I'm done.
sometimes things just present themselves.
Okay.
So, for example, as a county commissioner, so I served as a county commissioner for 20 years. And I still owned my flower shop, and we still had the dairy farm for my first, couple of terms there.
Yeah.
So there was just, I got very active and engaged. There's a lot you can do to, like I said, to make that difference. And I knew what it was like to be on the other side of that podium, to be on the other side of that public hearing,
Yeah.
where you're trying to present your case and saying, this is why we shouldn't be doing this. And so, again, just really wanting to serve people and saying, and sticking up for the little guy. But as I was going through, because I felt like we were the underdog, and yet
Yeah.
we ended up winning in our case because we persevered and we had a good group of people that felt like, this is our community and we're going to stand up for it. And so I felt that way about my county. Like, we need to have somebody who cares about the county, who doesn't just say, oh yeah, you're chasing windmills, stop what you're doing, we don't care kind of thing.
Yeah.
And nobody cares about what's going on, 45 miles away from the county seat. And that's
Yeah.
not true. That's just not true. So, there are things like as a county commissioner, I got involved in a lot of stuff because, what the heck, why not?
Yeah.
I like to know what's going on.
For people who don't know, what is a a county commissioner actually doing? Like,
They-
just on a normal day-to-day basis. Like what are they actually involved in, and what type of influence do they
You
have?
can be involved in everything and you have a great amount of influence.
Okay.
County commissioner is probably the best elected office to be elected to.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because county commissioners in the state of Colorado have more power and more influence in their county than the governor does.
Okay.
Because they wear all 3 hats. They're like the only elected official, basically, that wears all 3 hats of government. So we have had executive, powers, executive, administrative, judicial, so quasi-judicial in the terms of land use hearings,
Okay.
and then also legislative. We pass policies.
Okay.
But we run the county.
Yeah.
Literally, we run the county. We are
And
the
there's 5 of them?
There are
Is that
5 in
accurate?
Weld County.
Okay. 3 different districts and 2 at large?
correct.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're doing pretty good there.
All right. I'm learning. I'm doing my best.
Yeah, Yeah, so I mean, we run all sorts of programs. We have other elected officials that we do the budgeting for, because we control the budget, and it's the fiduciary responsibility that is largely our responsibility. That is our responsibility that we do. But the county oversees human services programs. We work with like the assessor, the clerk, the sheriff, the treasurer. But in our county, the treasurer and the coroner are appointed. In other counties, they are elected.
Yeah.
So when I was first a county commissioner, they were elected. But eventually, because we have a charter, they became appointed. So we just oversee all of that.
They're not appointed today, though, are they?
Mm-hmm.
They are? Mm-hmm. Even in Weld County?
Mm-hmm. And just in Weld County.
Oh, only in Weld County,
yeah.
though? They're appointed?
In Weld County and in the city and county of Denver and the city and county of Broomfield.
They're not elected?
No.
What?
No,
I didn't know that.
We changed the charter a few years ago.
Wow.
To allow for an appointment.
Okay.
So they're
what was their reasoning behind that?
Because they're really more of an administrative type job, and so again, that is a department underneath the Board of County Commissioners.
And who appoints them?
The board does. The Board of County Commissioners does.
The commissioners appoint their own commissioners?
No, commissioners are elected. We appoint the treasurer and the coroner, along with others. They're now a department head.
I got you.
So
okay.
Along with all of our other department heads.
Okay.
So, but we oversee running everything in the county. So, like human services programs, the health department. We build the roads, in the county system.
And while you were a commissioner, what would you say your biggest impact was in Weld County?
Oh,
or maybe, not even necessarily just one event, but what was an issue that you kind of took up? And do you remember any change that you affected that you felt like, okay, I feel like we did a good job on this one?
Yeah. So I did a lot with human services programs.
Okay.
Because they're programs that most people just don't like to get involved in. But they're a large part of the budget, and you need to have an understanding of them. And Weld County has a pretty long-standing tradition of county commissioners getting involved in human services. So I actually served on the State Board of Human Services as well, as a county commissioner. So there's a lot of things that I've done as a county commissioner. I served as a county commissioner for 20 years. So, I can talk to you about transportation projects, for example, like the I-25 project out here.
Yeah.
That was one of my projects.
Okay.
That, I worked through the system and got on all these boards.
I wish you would have stayed on it, because now I feel like they're always doing stuff.
No, this is a good thing. I know it's hard. I know it's hard that there's always this construction, but be thankful that there's money coming to I-25. And we just did groundbreaking on segment 5, which is that middle segment. So I'm kind of going off here, but on I-25,
everyone wants to know about I-25. Why is it taking so long? Come on.
It is a long project, but there's a lot to do there, and it's a lot of miles that we covered. But this started back in September of 2013. In fact, September 11th. This is another case where, people just tick me off, and I'm thinking, just watch. We're going to get this taken care of. But back in August of 2013, we were told by the Department of Transportation, essentially by the state of Colorado, that we wouldn't get any additional lanes, any additional capacity on, I-25 north. For 60 years, till 2075 kind of thing. And exactly. And unless we allowed tolling on existing lanes. And we told them, no, fat chance. Yeah. We already paid for those lanes. You're not going to tax us again to get more lanes up here. You need to fund lanes in northern Colorado. So we put together a coalition of groups. Started it, and got the county commissioners involved. Yeah. And when I talk about a coalition, it's along the whole I-25 corridor from Adams County, Broomfield County, all the way up to Larimer County, from Thornton all the way up to Wellington kind of time, situation. And then we got the business community involved as well, and created the I-25 North Coalition, and started going out and talking to everybody we could, congressmen, U.S. senators, went to CDOT. Yeah. I was on I chaired the Upper Front Range Transportation Planning Region. At one point, I was on the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization, which does transportation. I was on the State Transportation Advisory Committee. We were all engaged, working to get funding for I-25. Yeah. Otherwise, the road would just crumble. We'd be at a 2-lane roadway. Yeah. So one of our goals was to finish a 3rd lane from State Highway 66 all the way up to State Highway 1, which
Yeah.
is Harmony Road, which is, Fort Collins
Right.
area, and up that way. And when we started on the project, we all agreed that we would start up north and create this bottleneck in the middle.
Okay.
Because we knew, some of us had been around with CDOT long enough to know that if you just keep working your way up the corridor, they would never get to the most northern part. So we started on the most northern part and said, no, we're going to do this like segment, 8 and 9, and we're going to do these segments first. This is what we want done first. And we all even actually ended up contributing funds.
Yeah.
But by we all, I mean local governments in the area, cities and counties.
So you started on the northern part? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there was some work being done to connect to E470, down in Thornton that we were working together as a coalition.
Yeah.
Making a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And putting it in our plans, in our transportation plans. So literally I think I was at the groundbreaking, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, somewhere in there, a month ago somewhere, for segment 5. Which is that middle 6 miles.
Okay.
That now they're gonna have to do, and that they're starting on now.
Okay.
But if we'd have just kept, from State Highway 66 and started working our way north, they would have done those 6 miles that they're getting ready to do now. But they probably would have never gone further north, because then we have, a new governor who's more concentrated on transit and doing things in the metro area instead of really looking at some of our state highway systems.
I'm curious.
So it's a pretty cool project. And it's like a lot of money.
Yeah. And it's been going for over 10 years now, is that right? Since 2013?
Well, that's when we started as a coalition.
Okay.
And if you remember in 2013, I can remember this day perfectly. We started it was September 11th, 2013.
Okay.
Because that's when the flooding started. Remember? It was raining.
Okay.
Pouring down
Windsor?
rain. Yeah, we were at having our meeting at the Southwest Weld building, which is right at 119 and I-25 in that area. And you could hear it pounding on the roof. Like, it was so loud.
Yeah.
The rain, right?
I'm pretty sure that was the Windsor, I lived in Windsor.
The whole
Windsor
thing.
got destroyed, yeah.
So, but on September 13th, which was a Friday, September 13th, 2013, we saw our future for I-25 because all of the major north-south road, every north-south road, from about 10 miles to the west of I-25 and about 15 miles to the east of Greeley, so I-25, Highway 85, they were all closed because of flooding. Remember all the flooding that occurred in 2013?
Did Eisenhower 34 get washed out too?
There was flooding.
Do you remember that?
Yes. Oh my gosh, there was flooding all the way across and it wiped out. We had water topping the roads on Highway 85 and closing it right at, just south of LaSalle there. Between LaSalle and Evans, I shouldn't say south of LaSalle, but I-25, water was topping the road at Thompson. At 119, things got washed out there. The whole thing was a mess for the next 6 weeks. It was a mess, right? So now we know what our future looks like on I-25 if we don't start doing something.
Yeah.
So that really got the business community. They were willing to jump on board anyways. But really, we were able to paint that picture. Here's what I-25 is going to look like if we don't fix this roadway. And so I would say it's been, we started the project working on getting funding and pushing the project forward in 2013.
Okay.
But they didn't really start construction, though, until 2015, 2016.
Yep.
So it's only been 8 years. But it's going to be 2-3 more years, and then we'll have it. We'll have it done.
Well,
and it's worth it.
Thank you. I hope you're telling me the truth because I'm ready for I-25 to be done. I see that there's this meme that goes around. Yeah. I'm sure maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, but it's like treat yourself like I-25, never stop working on yourself.
That's right. I can't. I'm going to use that. But you know what? There's a lot of places around this state that didn't get funding for their roadways, but we've gotten over $1 billion in funding.
You know what? In the short term, it's difficult, I guess, for some people. It's not the most convenient, but you know what? Long run, it's definitely going to pay off. So
it will pay off.
I'm glad someone took the initiative. Golly,
that's a great project, and I really enjoyed all the transportation stuff I did. I chaired the State Transportation Advisory Committee for a while, for 8 years actually, when it first was created back in 1994. So that was really rewarding. There were things like I helped create the public safety communication system, not only throughout Weld County and upgraded it to digital, but throughout the state of Colorado. Those were great projects. That wasn't all being a county commissioner, but here in Weld County it was. And that's, it's about emergency response and making sure that we have that public safety communication system that is sustainable and redundant and interoperable and all of those words, right?
Yeah.
So that was pretty rewarding as well. What we did with our own transportation system, a lot of the upgrades and things that we did also with our land use code and our comprehensive plan, that was all rewarding. I would say, though, for me, it was really getting more involved in the human services side of things. Because, again, most people don't want to do that. Most county commissioners don't say, oh, hey, now that I'm a county commissioner, I want to go be on the State Board of Human Services. I mean, they just don't.
For people who don't know, what does that encompass? What are you doing with that?
So it's all of the programs for child welfare services and the temporary aid to needy families programs. And then there's the area agency programs, for the elderly. So
why
it's
don't you
about
think
programs.
People want to be? Why don't you think politicians want to be involved with that? Wouldn't you think that would give them some brownie points, I guess?
No, it's complicated.
Really?
It's complicated. There's
Okay.
a lot of federal rules and regulations, and there's federal dollars that get mixed in with state dollars. But there's just a complication with it, and it's not most people don't understand that that's what counties get involved in. And county commissioners. And when they run for county, a lot of county commissioners think, oh, I'm going to go get all these roads paved. And, well, you do that, but there's a lot more to it than just, getting roads paved and, doing the budget and that type of thing. And there's just a lot there. And no, it's kind of one of those, no matter how good you do there, no good deed goes punished, goes unpunished kind of thing, right? And people, no, it's not something that you go out and campaign on. You don't go out and say, wow, I made sure and got all of our funding that we needed to take care of people in our county, because people are like, well, why are you doing that? I'm paying more taxes.
Right.
So it's not one of those glamorous areas necessarily to work in. But from my perspective, it's like you can really make a difference.
Yeah.
For people who are in the most vulnerable times of their lives, like children and the elderly,
and
you can serve them.
What were you doing for them?
So I was working to make sure I got on the allocation committees. In fact, I helped get laws passed and help write the laws, working with Senator Dave Owen.
Is that deciding how much money is going where?
Mm-hmm. Well, we created in law, one was the Child Welfare Allocation Committee, and the other one was the Colorado Works Allocation Committee.
Okay.
And this made it more fair about how do we allocate the funds throughout the state, and counties were involved. So, I chaired those committees for quite some time to make sure that that the children, that the services that we were supposed to be providing in the state, that the money was going to provide those services throughout. Because otherwise the state was deciding where the funds went and how they were dispersed and allocated out to counties, and it wasn't always fair.
Right.
It wasn't fair to Weld County, but more importantly, it wasn't fair across the state. So I think, getting those allocations straightened up and making sure that that children, families in need that were supposed to be getting these services are getting those services, and that we were getting our fair share, because, the money's coming from the feds and it's going someplace.
Right.
So it needs to be going to where those kids are, or the elderly, or, whatever we were working on. So I got pretty involved in that. And even now as a state senator, that's still an area that I am still pretty involved in, and making sure that there's appropriate funding in the budget and in the laws that we pass. And then, so that as a county commissioner, those were some of the things that I found, I don't know, maybe most gratifying, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like it's making a difference.
It's interesting because how many people are like deciding who they're going to vote for based on, oh, well, she did this.
Nobody.
Right.
Nobody.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's why nobody really wants to be involved in it.
Right.
It's like, well,
I guess my point is it almost has to come from an altruistic place, because there's very little to zero self-interest involved in that. It's
I know, but and it's
you're giving yourself more responsibility and work and not necessarily getting a lot of benefit from it.
Oh my God, there'd be a lot of Friday afternoons I'd be thinking, what's the rest of my board doing? I'm down here in Denver on this committee arguing with everyone, which I have to admit I kind of like doing. I like the arguing
I do
part.
like arguing.
Yes, I do like the negotiation and the figuring out the the allocations and the formulas.
Well, we should figure out what we disagree on. But I did want to ask you though.
Yeah.
Before we start arguing, so you're Weld County Commissioner. How long were you commissioner for?
So I served for 8 years, and then went off because we had a limit of 2 terms at that time.
That makes sense.
And that was within our charter. So I went off, and then I went and worked in the Owens administration, eventually becoming the executive director of the Department of Local Affairs.
Bill Owens?
Yeah, Governor Owens. So I was on his cabinet for a little bit. Yeah. And served in that.
He served from 2000 to 2008?
No, right? Actually, it was about 2001 to 2007 in there.
Is it 3-year terms?
No. Well, that's when I was on the Department of...
term length.
So I overlapped with Governor Owens, and then, in came Governor Ritter. And basically, I got fired.
That piece of crap. No.
I didn't get fired, but, I wasn't appointed anymore.
But when was Bill Owens...
He was there from 1999 through 2007, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so it was 8-year term.
It took about 6 months.
Yeah.
I was let go, basically.
And what were you doing for his administration?
So.
And how did you get connected with him? Did he personally hire you, or was it his administration that?
So I was appointed eventually. First, I came in as the director of community development, neighborhood development kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was, the person who was the executive director was a friend of mine, and he is a former county commissioner out of Arapahoe County.
Okay.
And he was the county manager from La Plata County. So, he knew me very well and said, you ought to come. This would be a great job for you. And I thought, sure, why not? So I went there and did that. Because at that point, I didn't have the flower shop anymore. We had sold the flower shop. And I was like, I needed a job. And I thought, I still get to do stuff that I like to do, working with local governments. So that was pretty fun. And anyways, but eventually I became the executive director.
Yeah.
And that's an appointment by the governor.
Okay. Did he know you personally? Or is this... Okay.
Yes, I know Governor Owens.
Bro, that's so cool. I
know Governor Romer, too.
Okay, I'm not familiar with
and a few of the others. I know Governor Polis now, too.
No, Owens was cool. I remember when I went to UNC, I had just gotten my concealed carry permit in Colorado by Steve Reams. Steve Reams was the one who endorsed. He endorsed my my concealed carry permit in Weld County. But anyway, what I learned though, because you have to do a lot of research about gun laws in Colorado when you have your concealed carry permit. Because there's certain places you can't take it, and you have to learn all the laws and the lingo and stuff. But the Supreme Court of Colorado, under Bill Owens, a big concern for me was so in Colorado, obviously school shootings are kind of something on some people's minds.
Yeah.
It's per capita, it's one of the higher states. School shootings per capita. So I wanted to make sure that I was armed and that I could protect myself, protect my classmates in the case of a school shooting. And so I wanted to know if I could carry a gun on campus at UNC's campus in Greeley. And so I looked at UNC's school policy, and they clearly state no firearms allowed on campus. 0.
Yeah.
What's interesting, though, is that their policy actually doesn't matter. They can have all the policies they want. Supreme Court of Colorado ruled that you are absolutely allowed to carry a firearm, concealed carry a firearm on campus. And so I read this court ruling and I was like, I'm going to carry a gun on campus. So every day when I went to class, I had a firearm on me. UNC's campus, every single day. And at the end, I remember I was a political science major, so I felt like I could, make this point. But I did tell them, like, hey, just wanted you guys to know, like, you guys have been the safest that you've ever been.
Because I was here.
Yes, because I was here, and you guys have been protected from school shootings and all that stuff. So I made a political point to tell them that I was concealed carrying. And anyway, so that was interesting. But no, Bill Owens, he presided over the Supreme Court of Colorado when they made that ruling. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was cool. Colorado, of states that don't have constitutional carry, Colorado probably has the best concealed carry laws you could ask for.
I don't know.
They still require a concealed carry permit, which I don't love. I don't love the fact that you have to get a permit.
Man,
but,
they just made some changes, though, to that law.
Yeah. But given the fact that you do have to have a permit, once you get your permit, Colorado laws are pretty much as good as it gets in terms of concealed carry. Because a private business can't prevent you from concealed carrying. They can put a sign on their window that says no guns allowed, but the only thing they can do to enforce that is trespass you. There's no law that says you can't carry it onto someone else's property. The only thing they can do about that to enforce that law is to trespass you from the property. So anyway.
Which is pretty hard to do.
Yeah. They would have to know. They would have to know that you're carrying.
Well, and they would have to lock their doors.
Right.
And you would have had to enter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
Anyway, Bill Owens.
Yeah.
Seems like a good guy.
He is a good guy.
Anyway, okay, so Weld County Commissioner, and then you ran for state senator after that. Was that the next office that you occupied?
I did county commissioner for 8 years.
Yes.
And then I went and worked in Owens, for Bill Owens,
yes.
Governor Owens. And then when I left there, I ran again for county commissioner and served another 12 years as county commissioner.
Okay.
Because again, it's
Still
a great...
in Weld.
In Weld County. It's a great job, and you get to do a lot of amazing things.
Are there not term limits?
Yeah, there are.
Okay. So
but
how did you...
they're terms. So the charter, and now even in state law, it's it used to be 2 terms that you could serve 2 consecutive terms.
Yeah. And
then it got changed to 3.
Okay.
So you can sit out a term and then run again.
Okay.
So I actually set out 2 terms. And then I decided, what am I going to do now that I don't have this other job? And I thought, I really liked being a county commissioner, and I thought I had made a difference. And so I thought, I'm going to go do that again because someone's got to go take care of my county, and it probably should be me.
Yeah. So you did 2 consecutive terms.
Yep. So 8 years.
Took 2
then I
terms
was
off.
out for 8 years, and I worked in the Owens administrations, and then I served 3 terms as a county commissioner. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. It was great.
That's kind of awesome.
And that's where I met Scott James.
They must have liked you. Oh
well, that's funny that you say that because I think they liked me. But no, I remember when I was running for office and the Greeley Tribune was still around. I think it was my 3rd term I was running for county commissioner.
Yeah.
First of all, I remember telling my kids, this is it. This is the last race we got to run. We got to do parades. This is it. Yeah. We don't have to go walk on any more doors and, walk and knock on any more doors. But, I remember the Greeley Tribune basically asking me what I thought about career politicians.
Okay.
And my response back to him was, I said, first of all, I just want to know why you're asking me and you didn't ask all the men who've been in here. Because they didn't. I said, you don't ever make that comment about all the men. I said, they've all, I listed off a bunch of different elected officials that I respect and they'd run. I said, but here's the thing. I said, I have to run every 4 years. Every 4 years, I have to re-interview for my job.
Yeah.
I have to go out there and say to people, I've done this, I followed through on my promises, I kept my word, kind of stuff, and I have to re-interview and get rehired every 4 years. So any career out there that has to do that?
Right.
No.
That's not the best job security.
No,
when you put it that way,
you
think about it and you're like,
So the people have the opportunity for county commissioners or state senators, it's every 4 years. For state house of representative, it's every 2 years.
Yeah.
You've got to go and re-interview. You've got to go back out and justify what you've done and restate your case as why you should get to represent them, either at the Capitol or as a county commissioner.
Yeah.
So, but I enjoyed my job.
Yeah.
And I really liked it, and I like to think I was pretty good at it, and I got a lot accomplished.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, so you capped out 3 terms.
Yep.
Weld County Commissioner. And then, so was it the very next election cycle that you decided to run for state senate?
It was right in there, in I can tell you, it was March 5th, 2019.
Okay. And why did you decide to do that?
Because I got ticked off at Polis.
Okay. It sounds like it sounds like anger is the best motivation for politics.
But no, it's just like, in 2018. Yeah. There was a ballot initiative that failed, and it was about setting back oil and gas. 1,500-foot setbacks from
What was
homes.
the name of that one?
Was that 118 or 112?
Okay, I remember everyone had the signs on their...
Yes, don't set us back. Remember all of that?
Yeah.
That failed.
Yes. I know what you're talking about.
That failed in November, right?
Okay.
I mean, Weld County is the number one energy county in the state. You know, the Wattenberg Field, which underlies, you know, most of Weld County and is in the Denver-Julesburg Basin, 5th in the nation. It used to be 5th in the nation. I think it's now 7th or something in the nation of best, you know, most producing oil fields, oil and gas fields in the nation, right?
Yeah.
And so in 2018, I mean, we fought hard to make sure that that ballot initiative failed. I mean, as county commissioners, I mean, we were out, you know, I was out working around the state. In our county, when I was talking to the leaders of that, they're like, God, we're going to need at least 70% of Weld County to come in with a no vote. We were everywhere. The Board of County Commissioners were everywhere because oil and gas is important not only to Weld County and to the economy here and to the number of jobs and people that are in those jobs, but also to the economy of the state of Colorado. So we worked it hard. And gosh, you know, it was about 70% of our people said no to that initiative. Well, then in March, or, you know, somewhere in there, February, March, they presented a bill, Senate Bill 181, that put in setbacks.
Okay.
Directly against the will of the voters. You know, voters said no, and here we are within 6 months. He's getting ready to sign a bill that has setbacks in it. And in his election, because he got elected in 2018 as well, he told everyone, oh no, he didn't like that setback stuff. And then here we are 6 months later, and we're putting a bill in place that has all these additional rules. There were like 12 to 13 more rules. I mean, when it first started, that bill was horrible, and then it was just bad. But all of this stuff, and in that bill, but against the will of the voters said no. And 6 months later, they're saying, to the voters.
Squeeze it in. And,
that ticks me off. It's like, that's not how it's supposed to work. And like I said, you know, I've been on both sides of the podium, both sides, having to present in a public hearing, and that's not right. You don't. You're not supposed to do that. And so we had a meeting, myself, Commissioner Freeman, and Commissioner Scott James, who y'all know. We had a meeting that night, and you know the reason we had the meeting is it was the first hearing. I mean, I had to fly back from Washington D.C. I was at a conference, so I could be here for the first hearing, and I could make comments about how much we hated Senate Bill 181, you know, and how bad it was going to be for the state. But more importantly, think about all the people who are going to lose their jobs. Yes. And the governor signed it into law. But on March 5th was the first day of those hearings, and, you know, he knew that there were 3 Weld County commissioners, 3 out of the 5 Weld County commissioners in the building. So he invited us to come up to his office and meet with him. And, you know, they didn't stakeholder this bill with any of us. Like, we didn't know the bill was getting dropped, or, you know, we would have had more to say, and we probably would have fought it in a different way. But, you know, because he just wanted the picture. He just wanted the opportunity, the photo op kind of thing, basically. And I wouldn't let him take any pictures of us. But as I'm trying to explain to him...
He wanted the look of bipartisanship and that kind of thing, or what?
Oh, yeah. Well, look, I talked to the Weld County Commissioners. I'm talking to them. And he was like, I don't know why you're so worried. You'll still get to do everything you're doing. And I looked at him, and I had the bill pulled up on my laptop, or my iPad, not laptop, on my iPad. And I'm pointing out to him. I start to point out to him, like, no, this is wrong, and no, this doesn't do this. And, you know, I'm, like, talking about the bill. And he, like, pushed my iPad away. And I thought, that's it. I'm done. We were in there for like 10, 12 minutes. I walked out of there, and instead of retiring, I had to call my daughters up and say, you know,
you were thinking about drinking margaritas on the beach, and now all of a sudden you have to stay.
I said, I wasn't lying when I said that was our last, you know, election 4 years ago, but it's not our last election.
Right.
You're going to have to help me again.
Because,
you know, if your kids aren't if your family's not behind you, you shouldn't be running for office. You got to
have that base level.
So that was
support.
it. I thought, that's it. You know, he's just going to basically push aside what the voters said.
You know what's interesting, though, about the whole oil and gas and energy thing is, like, they're passing those laws so that they can say that they're green and environmentally friendly, but they're still going to use the same amount of oil and natural gas. Except now we're going to have to pay more for it.
Oh, wait, Nate, I'll go one better for you. You want to know what passed this year?
The amount of pollution is going to be the same. We just have to pay more for it now. Anyway, yes, continue.
Oh, no, but actually, the oil and gas industry has done a tremendous job in eliminating a lot of their pollution. They're not the major cause of pollution of the ozone issue that we have in the state of Colorado.
Okay.
They're a portion of it. I'm not
Yeah.
saying they aren't a portion of it, but they're not the major cause like they try to, they meaning the Democrats try to say they are.
Yeah.
But here's what happened this year down at the State House. So there were like 5 bills that were introduced. One was a total ban on oil and gas by 2030.
Wow.
Which would have eliminated oil and gas immediately had that passed. I mean, it already put a lot of pressure, and investors were already starting to pull out because here goes Colorado again.
Yeah.
There were 4 other bills. One of them, seasonal drilling only, so no drilling in the summertime. Or no drilling during certain periods of the year.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then there was just some other more, let's just keep adding on more, rules onto them and make it so difficult and so expensive to do oil and gas in the state that essentially that runs the industry out of the state of Colorado. Now, everybody needs to keep in mind, the oil and gas industry is in our top 3 as far as our economy in the state of Colorado.
Yeah.
And so you run that out of the state of Colorado, you hurt everybody in the state of Colorado.
That's a big problem, yeah.
And if there was an air quality issue, I mean, being on the Board of County Commissioners, we were like the first ones to say, look, we started doing more air monitoring. We worked with the oil and gas industry. So when I say they've done a lot, they have done a lot to ensure that they are not the problem.
The extraction is, that's the interesting part, though, to me about the whole oil and gas and energy debate, is that the extraction is not the polluting part, it's the consumption of it. So preventing extraction is not reducing, you're not reducing emissions, you're not helping the environment, you're actually harming the environment and the economy.
But the oil and gas industry, they maybe were being, I'm not going to say negligent, but maybe not doing as much as they could have been doing way back in 2005 or whatever. But since that time frame, they have done a tremendous amount of work to contain the methane gas, to contain and take care of the ozone issue and that type of thing. I mean, it's amazing what they have done and what they've accomplished.
And also, if you want to improve the environment, I feel like you should be supportive of natural gas.
Especially natural gas.
Natural gas, because it's half the emissions.
And you need it.
Right.
You need it.
That's what it doesn't make sense to me. It's like if your goal is actually to make the environment better,
it doesn't have to make sense.
Right.
So let me just tell you what happened at the Capitol this year.
You understand my frustrations.
Well, join my frustration. But here's what happened at the Capitol this year. So there were at least 5 bills that were attacking the oil and gas industry again. The wars were supposed to be over in 2019, according to Governor Polis. This should end the oil and gas wars when he was signing Senate Bill 181. But here we are this year, 5 bills. One bill was killed in committee. I was on that committee with Senator Lundeen, and we were able to get enough votes to kill the bill in committee, the one that would have banned oil and gas. But there's still 4 more bills out there that are going to do enough damage that oil and gas just goes someplace else. They'll just go someplace else.
Right.
They'll just go wherever, Texas or Oklahoma or South Dakota.
And we'll still have the negative environmental impacts, but none of the economic benefit.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's not necessarily all from oil and gas. But here's what happened. So the industry cut a deal with the governor to get rid of those 4 bills. And in exchange for that, they put a fee on the price per barrel, on the barrel. Like
additional tax revenue, basically?
Yeah, additional revenue coming in to the tune of $175 million. So here were my comments on the Senate floor. If I'd have only known 30 years ago when, people in Boulder County and Larimer County were saying that because of what the Weld County commissioners support oil and gas, that they're killing us over here. Yeah. That, if we only would have known that for a fee on the price of oil, that your headaches go away, your nosebleeds go away, your asthma goes away. That all that stuff about, how bad oil and gas is for the environment, if we'd only known a fee takes care of it. A fee on each barrel of oil. Takes care of all of it. That all goes away now, apparently.
Yeah. That's
the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy. But that's what happened down at the Capitol this year.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you say? I got a couple more questions, and then we're about out of time here.
Okay, good.
What would you say is one of, if not the biggest issue facing Colorado voters? Is it the environment, the economy? Is it crime? Is it immigration? Is it gun rights? Is it abortion rights? What really do people care about? What gets people emotionally invested to go out and actually vote?
Property taxes. Taxes.
Really? Okay.
At least when I'm out walking in my district.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that most of my district is in Weld County. I mean, I have portions of Larimer and Weld County in my district.
Yeah.
But when I'm at the door, because I go out and do a lot of walking and talking to people, knock on their door and see what's going on in their community, so I know, how they feel about things.
Yeah.
Taxes come up. That, safety. Public safety, not feeling necessarily safe in their neighborhood. Remember, we had we were like in the top 3 or something, top 4. We're in the top 3 most dangerous states in the nation, but we were like number 1 in auto thefts, things like that. People were seeing where their neighbors' cars were being stolen. Maybe theirs was being stolen. So public safety, taxes, those 2 are at the top. Immigration now, undocumented, folks, undocumented immigrants coming into our state, and the cost of that, when their cost of living, the cost of living.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge on their minds as well. But that goes back to why are they paying more taxes? And, property taxes aren't collected by the state, folks. They're collected at the local government,
Yeah. Would you say that like culture war issues are more of like a national level concern? And
more so, it kind of bleeds in, though. It bleeds over into what goes on in the state. A lot of people see what's going on nationally, and that bleeds into state elections.
Yeah.
So that's why you're seeing a lot about the immigration, the undocumented immigrants that are coming into our country. That, and when you see things like what's going on in Denver and how much it's costing. It's not just costing Denver, it's costing all of us.
Yeah.
It just is. And then when they see the huge jump in their property taxes, when they were told that if they voted one way in 2020 that their property taxes would go down, and then all of a sudden they jumped up. That would be, again,
so
you don't get to fool the voters and think that they're not going to come back and get you later. But I didn't vote for that amendment. I just want you to know.
Here's what we all really want to know. If you're elected state senator for our district.
You really want to know this?
Are we going to get 30-round magazines back?
Not until we get to a majority. We've got to get to a majority.
Yeah.
Right now, the House is in a super minority, so there are 19 out of 65 are Republican.
What?
So they're a super minority.
How's that possible?
Exactly.
I would think that it's like just Denver and maybe some Colorado Springs and like a couple other blue spots.
Where the major population areas are. But no, and then the Senate, which I'm one of 35. Only 12 of us are Republican. If we drop below 12, we'll be in a super minority. And then the governor's office is a Democrat as well.
Are the
all
12
3
of
chambers,
you, like, freaking locked in?
Pretty much.
Really?
Pretty much.
Are you all like
because
friends?
Because if we don't lock in, they need
scary.
one of us. It is scary. They just need one Republican to be able to break, and then they can put whatever they want into our Constitution and put it on the ballot.
Oh my gosh.
Think about it.
Wow.
So just one of us. So we stick together pretty tight. I would say we're very unified. We don't tell each other how to vote. That's not what Republicans do. But we're all pretty solid in our values, in our conservative values. And I would say, we are unified in our voice.
Yeah. So here's how it works out, I would think, in most states. Most states, you have a lot of land mass. And the counties with the most land mass are typically red, and then you have these tiny little blue dots, but it's like most of the population is centralized in that area. Why does Colorado have so many blue districts?
It's the same way. It's the same way in Colorado. So if you look back,
are there just 100 districts in Denver? Like little tiny ones, or what?
It's just a major portion of the population. We're like close to 6 million in population.
Okay.
Okay, well, there is... I don't know. I'm trying to think how many there are, but they're like, so the population in Weld County is about 350,000. Okay.
Yeah.
It's 1 million. It's 1 million in Jefferson.
Yeah.
It's 1 million approximately. It's a little less than this, but it's approximately 1 million in Jefferson County. It's approximately 1 million in Arapahoe, approximately 1 million in El Paso, and approximately about 1 million in Denver. They're all right around 800,000 to 1 million in population.
Yeah.
Arapahoe, Jefferson, Denver. Think about where the population is. So if you were...
But do they have more representatives for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because each Senate district has 175,000 people in it.
Okay. That makes sense.
So, but if you go back and look at, you remember Proposition HH that was on the ballot last year? This is why I have hope.
No, what is it?
It was the Proposition HH was they wanted to take your Tabor surplus to give
Okay.
you a property tax break.
Okay.
So we're going to take away your refund to give you a property tax
Yeah.
break.
So
ridiculous. So I helped
canceled it out,
co-chair the No on HH campaign, and it went down like 60-40. So I think 60% to 40%. So I think people are generally fiscally conservative, and that's a message I think as Republicans that we need to hammer on.
Yeah.
Because it was the Democrats who were trying to take away your Tabor surplus, your Tabor refund, to give you a property tax break. Does that make sense? Like I pay taxes over here, so I get a tax break over here, but I still have to pay tax. I'm not going to get my refund back over here.
Yeah.
That's just that was stupid. So it failed. But when you go back and look at the vote, in Weld County, Larimer County, vote totals are high on the no side.
Yeah.
They're like 4 counties to get to that 40%. 4 counties that were blue. Denver, Boulder.
Yeah.
There was another small one down south and one over on the western slope.
All right, last question,
Yes.
and then we'll wrap up here. Do you ever see Colorado being blue again?
You mean red again?
Red again, and if so, how do we go about doing that?
I don't know if we ever get to that really pretty crimson red color. I'd be happy if we just kind of got to a light red.
Yeah.
We could maybe get there.
Yeah.
I think things are kind of shifting a bit again. I think the Democrat Party is where the Republican Party was a few years ago, very divided. But our party still has some divisions in it as well. I mean, we both parties have the extremes, the polarizing people in their parties.
Yeah.
And in the Democrats, I mean, I saw it just playing out even at the Capitol this year, where we actually have, is it 6 or 7, might be 7 now, Democrats who are members of the Democrat Socialists of America. They're actually socialists. We have a socialist
And they identify
caucus.
as socialists.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes. And that's growing, and that's kind of wreaking havoc, if you will, for the Democrats that are in the majority. So they're very divided, and so I think there are some cracks, maybe some small windows of opportunity this year to get some seats back to Republican.
Yeah.
But it'll take.
Yeah.
It's going to be in a couple more cycles before we get there.
I think we can turn it red. I think you have to have the attitude that it'll turn red.
I'm hopeful.
You have to.
I'm hopeful, and I'm building on it.
Here's how you do it. Here's how you do it.
Okay.
You expose Democrats as the racists that they are. They believe that black people aren't intelligent enough to get into college on their own, so they have to give them affirmative action. They want to, when it comes to abortion, this is just how it is. Whether it's intentional or not doesn't matter. The point is that abortion, nationally speaking, is an ethnic genocide on Mexicans and black people, just statistically. They target with advertisements minority populations. The founder of Planned Parenthood was a white supremacist, Margaret Sanger, whose stated goal was to ethnically cleanse the United States. So Democrats are responsible for slavery, Jim Crow laws, redlining, think of every bad thing that institutionally has happened to ethnic minorities. It was Democrats that are responsible for it. The crime bill, mass incarceration, all that stuff, lack of education, the lack of school choice. The freaking education system in the U.S. was developed by Democrats. They fund areas based on property taxes. Therefore, poor areas, generally speaking, more ethnic minority areas have less funding. Wealthier areas have more funding.
But not in the state. There's a different formula for it. But anyways, sorry.
But school choice, that's something that Republicans advocate for that would actually help.
It is. But then from our side,
right.
Look at the issues that we've been pounding on.
Yeah.
Not all of us, but, from like our party chair, we talk about things like election integrity.
Right.
The election was stolen. It's 4 years ago. Time to get over it, folks.
But however.
4 years ago, though.
But don't you want to
But that's all we talk about. You know what? When I go to the door and I talk to people, they don't bring up the election. They bring up their property taxes.
Yeah.
They bring up how much taxes they're paying. They bring up how they don't feel safe in their neighborhood.
Right.
They bring up, about how they want educational choice for their children. They want to be able to decide what's best for their child instead of government.
Yeah.
All of those points, yes. Yes, yes, yes. And what do we talk about? Election integrity. Well, the election was stolen. And then who gets indicted? Who gets, is going to go to court? A Republican clerk.
Yeah.
for not following the law.
Okay, but however, don't you want to know?
Start thinking about it.
Don't you want to know the day of who the president-elect is and who won their local elections even? Don't you want to know that day?
Yes, so get your ballots in early.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Get your ballots in and get them in early.
Give me a high five. Come on.
Get them in.
Republicans need to stop advocating against early voting.
Absolutely.
Get in power first, and then you can change the law if you want to. But vote early so that you can at least achieve power. If you want to change the law later, that's fine. But, oh my gosh, why would you handicap yourself, shoot yourself in the foot, and not vote early? That doesn't make any sense.
So get your votes in.
Amen. Okay, I think
Speaking of which, June 25th is the primary.
Amen. Okay.
Get your ballots in now.
That's a good place to end it. So
Yes.
Is there anything you want to shout out? Where can people find information about you?
Sure.
How can people vote for you if they want to vote for you, if they live in your district? Just some of that basic information.
So my webpage is kirkmeyerforcolorado.com. You can find out a bunch of information about me there. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter, so you can find me there. And I've posted all the spots where you can go turn your ballots in early. So go get them in because the ballot election is next Tuesday.
Yes. What's the date on that?
June 25th.
Okay.
So today's Tuesday. So it's a week away. It's a week out.
Oh
it's
my
like
gosh.
1 week. You have to get your ballots in. You're pretty much past the point of mailing them in. I mean, you shouldn't guarantee on that. Go drop them off.
Yep.
Go put them in. They have this thing now through our clerks, through all the clerks' offices. It's called Ballot Tracks, and they track your ballot, and they let you know. They send you an email when they've opened your ballot. They send you an email when your ballot has been counted. So you know that your ballot's been counted. Go check it out.
Yep. And then for social media, do people just type in Barbara Kirkmeyer, or how do they find you on Facebook or Twitter? Or Instagram
if you
or
type
whatever?
in at Senator Kirkmeyer, you'll find me on Twitter, and then on Facebook, it's Kirkmeyer for Colorado.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your time.
Thank you. It
We'll
was
do
fun.
it again one of these days.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.